Latest football news,
engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio, Fridays at 5 p.m. for another week of football action with your host as always, George. I hope you're enjoying the Easter break. Yes, we're on Easter break now. Good Friday football, Easter Saturday football, Easter Sunday football, and Easter Monday football as well. Looking beautiful, lovely weather. You got to love football this time of the year. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, as always, and resident Ipswich Town fan. It is Dan. Mate, how are you doing? Are you enjoying the football coming up? We've got some exciting football. Town are going to be on TV. And the weather's looking nice as well. We've got to love football this time of the year.
Yeah, you do. Although Town being on TV is not a good omen, really. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that. But yeah, it's good to be back again, and looking forward to the rest of the run-in. It's going to be exciting.
Yes, it's going to be very exciting. Well, what is covered in today's show? Well, before I even do that, I better mention the social medias. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram's at Talk_Pitch, YouTube Mixcolour, both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to our previous shows, do not worry, we're all up there on YouTube Mixcolour, including last week's show as well, where you can listen to that as well on our YouTube and Mixcloud. Well, coming in today's show, we'll be talking about Ipswich Town's away day trip to Shrewsbury Town as they search to bounce back after two games where they've had two disappointing results. We'll be talking about the Premier League game week 32, where we saw, well, the top two clash, the top four battle change again, and the relegation battle change as well. And we'll be talking about the teams that got through to the semi-finals of the Champions League after their wins in the second leg of the quarter-finals. But when we come back, we'll be talking about Ipswich Town and what happened when they went to Shrewsbury Town on Saturday. Don't go anywhere.
Stay up to date with the latest footy news.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. It's Fridays at 5 p.m. with your host as always, George, and my co-host as always as well, Dan. And we're back for another week of football action. And before we go on, talk about Ipswich Town as they did their away day trip to Shrewsbury Town. I better mention the social medias. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram's at Talk_Pitch, YouTube Mixcolour, both at Pitchside Talk. If you want us back to any of our previous shows, do not worry, they're all up there on YouTube and a Mixcloud. Well, Ipswich Town, the last time we saw them, their playoff hopes came to an end after defeat to Cambridge United as the gap grew to 8 points with 5 games to go, and both teams having games in hand above them as well. So it looked like that was the end of the season, really, for them in their playoff hopes, but they could still have a strong end to the season and begin to think about the new season and what that lies ahead as well. But before that new season, we've got an away day trip to Shrewsbury Town, who were brought back down to earth after winning 3 games in a row after they got a defeat to MK Dons the last time out. And on the day, Ipswich Town failed to convert 3 points once again, letting them slip, earning a draw versus Shrewsbury as Cameron Burgess was sent off, red card, second yellow, which proved to be extremely costly as the hosts pegged them back to a singular point on the day. Dan, when it rains, it pours on Ipswich Town. Burgess' red card costing 3 points on the day. But once again, Town dominate the game, but they just can't kill the game off.
I know it's becoming a theme now, I think, with Town when we're in a decent position. But yeah, it's just frustrating and disappointing, isn't it? Because again, we were in control of the game. First half, we were brilliant, and I think we were back to our usual selves after the disappointing Cambridge loss. We were doing all the normal things. I think Backinson coming back in was big in that. We were passing it around well. Obviously took the lead early on, but yeah, and we were controlling it. But then obviously, as you say, the silly red card for Burgess, completely unnecessary. Just a rush of blood, I think, in there on the keeper. Gave the ref a decision to make, and it changed the game. We all know what happened. It was a I mean, the finish from Worley, I think it was for Shrewsbury, brilliant finish. You can't do anything about those. Flew past Walton. Can't complain about how the goal went in, but it's just the frustrating again at not being able to get it over the line, and that's what, in the end, ruined us this season. I think you think of so many games, even early on in the season, where we just needed to hold out for a win, that we couldn't do, and drew the game, and that is, why we haven't made the playoffs this year. And I'm sure that's something that McKenna will be looking at in the summer, and wanting to bring in players that is going to help with that. And I think it's more frustrating because our defence has been so good recently. It's not really anything wrong with the defence. We just cannot get that over the line. It's probably just not finishing chances enough, and it's definitely a problem.
Yes, it's definitely a problem. I'm sure there'll be a big analysis over the summer period of how the season hasn't gone right for its town in the first half and the second half of the season. But as you mentioned, Kieran McKenna, he wasn't happy at all after the game. He delivered a very honest assessment of the game with a main takeaway of we need to be more ruthless. And in the process, I'm very disappointed. I'm disappointed at ourselves, really. We got off to a really, really good start, in dominating performance in large parts of the game, completely controlled, created enough opportunities and enough situations to go and kill the game off, but we didn't manage that at all. I think the main frustration is when we don't do that, which we haven't done enough, then when the game is at 1-0, stuff can happen, especially away from home. Dan, you can just see the frustration. It's time and time again, Town get themselves in a situation where they're cruising, or they've got a 1-0 lead, they're controlling it, but they just can't get that second goal to get it across the line, to get the 3 points, seal the 3 points, effectively kill the team's hope off, the away team or the host team, whatever. And then it just then slips on them. They seem to have this moment of, it might be a worldie or it might be a lack of concentration. Then it goes to 1-1, 3 points go to 1 point. That hurts their chances in league positions or even fighting for playoffs and that. It seems to be a bit of a problem, but I'm sure when they'll do their season review or the analysis, or if we did it right now, the main takeaway we would say to be even better is to be more ruthless and just not to make costly mistakes when it's not required.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think that early on in the season, we were prone to making so many mistakes in defence. We conceded so many goals with silly mistakes from our players. I remember a few times back passes, too short back passes back to the keeper that the opponent striker would just latch onto and take that chance. We were gifting them, but then we were scoring goals at that point as well. But it's kind of gone the opposite way now, where we cannot finish games off and we can't score goals. You think of the Portsmouth win and the Wickham win early on in the season under Paul Kirk, and you think, blimey, we managed to finish a game off there against two really good teams away from home. But it is just that ruthlessness that's really hurting us at the moment. I have no qualms about the performances. I think we're performing well still, minus that Cambridge game. We're putting in really good performances and playing how McKenna wants to play. We're just not finishing them, finishing the chances, which, as we all know, and obviously that's that's what you need to do to get promoted out of this league. Yeah, it's, as you say, when they look back at this season, I feel like they're going to look at it as a season of two halves, and I really believe that's what it has been, because we can't get the ball over the line now, and it is really hurt us. And as I've said before in shows, I think we're a goal score away from having a really good side. I think we have a really good side now. I don't know, of course we do, but we're a goal scorer away from having that formula, I think. So it's going to be an interesting summer, that's for sure.
Well, the biggest talking point from that game was that red card for Cameron Burgess. As with 15 minutes to go, Town were cruising with a 1-0 lead. Burgess was on a yellow card. He got one just before halftime, I think in the 45th plus 11th minute. I can't remember why was so much added time again, Dan? Was it because somebody pulled a hamstring, an official, if I'm correct?
Yeah, it was the ref, I think.
Really?
I think the ref pulled his hamstring. And yeah, it all happens at Ipswich, doesn't it? Or in League One, at least.
I'm sorry, but these League One refs need to have better warm-ups. He needs to do his stretches beforehand before he, so he doesn't pull his hammies. Gosh.
Yeah.
Gosh, I spent that from an amateur referee, not from a professional member. Well, it happens, unfortunately. But yeah, he was on a yellow card. But then the ball was at the Shrewsbury goalkeeper's feet. I don't know what Burgess was doing that far up the pitch. I can't remember if it was a corner or he just did a massive charge with the ball and decided he was Lionel Messi. But Burgess charged at the goalkeeper who was trying to clear the ball. He had to take avoiding action after he cleared the ball from Burgess' studs. He may have not touched the player, but the referee gave him his marching orders less than 10 minutes to go. And then Shrewsbury, they scored that wonderful equaliser. After the game, Burgess did release a statement afterwards saying it was a genuine attempt to block any of the goalkeeper's clearance, but I knew it's a bad decision. The ref gave me a bad decision to give the ref, and he made a decision. No excuses on my part. I apologise to everyone associated with the club. Dan, such a costly error by Burgess here. He's cost, I know it's not bad, he's cost Town 3 points on the road. A massive 3 points. We know Town have struggled a little bit away from home quite recently since winning against Fleetwood, and at home as well. It sort of has dried up a little bit. But these 3 points they were well deserved. They might not have killed the game, but they were controlling it. But I think and I do know as well, when you put the ref in that sort of position from a tackle like that, he might not even touched him. The ref is going to send you off. It doesn't take a rocket scientist or anything, but he shouldn't be going in for that challenge. He knows he's on a yellow. Why is he going in on that challenge? Because he knows if he goes in and he mucks that up or whatever, 9 times out of 10 or 10 out of 10 times, you're going off.
Yeah, it was completely needless. And he said he was going for the ball, which, well, obviously he was, but you don't need to slide in like that if you're trying to block the keeper clearing the ball, do you? And as you said before, I don't even know why he was up there in the first place. It must have been from a corner because I didn't watch the game, and on the highlights it kind of just cut to the tackle, didn't it? So, yeah, I'm not sure why he was up there in the first place. As I say, it must have been a corner, but it was just a rush of blood, wasn't it? And unfortunately, it did cost us the 3 points. I'm not gonna, these things happen in football, and players make mistakes all the time. So I'm not going to put it against him, like I'm sure some people on Twitter will do. But it's just frustrating, isn't it? That it was such a needless red card. And as he said, and as you said, it gives the ref a decision, even if it isn't, doesn't take the goalkeeper out with 2 feet. It's still a late challenge, and it gives the ref a decision to make. And we've seen a lot of dodgy red cards in this league so far in the 3 season we've been here, but it was always going to be a red card at this time, and I don't think we've got any complaints really. So yeah, it's just, I honestly think if that didn't happen, we would have seen the game out. So I'm sure he feels quite bad about that, but he'll serve his 1 or 2 match ban, whatever it is, and come back stronger. I'm sure he will. It will be forgotten in a week or so.
Oh, it will be. Well, he's got to serve a 1 match ban, I think.
One
He
match.
got 2 yellows and a red.
Yeah,
so
I
one,
never. Well, that's the thing. Like Morsey got a 4 match ban for getting a red card that one time. So I don't know. I don't really know how that all works nowadays.
No, me neither. I think isn't a straight red? If it's just a straight red, that's 3 games, isn't it?
It should be
without
3,
review, isn't it?
Yeah, but Morsey got 4 for some reason. So. Yeah.
They must like him. That might be why.
And that was for that it was for that, supposed punch on that Accrington player, if you remember.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Well, that wasn't even given, was it, at the time? No,
it wasn't.
Very weird decision. I was thinking of the when he was at Middlesbrough, his last game.
Yeah, of course.
Thinking of that one, but it was a long time ago. Well, we now know it. Burgess could be out for at least 1 game, and that game is against Rotherham, the big away day trip, which is on Sky Sports on Easter Saturday. It was on Good Friday. but it's now on Easter Saturday. How annoying is that? But now there's a big decision for McKenna because he's got to play a new centre back now in the back three. With Emerson out, he's still out with that ankle injury. I think he's likely to be out now to the end of the season, potentially. It means he's only realistically got two options to choose from. And Dan, we're going to talk about these two options because one is a very young defender who is highly rated by the Town Academy. He plays a lot for his country, Indonesia, very popular over there with his country, Indonesia. But also as well, there's the left back Thompson on loan from Brentford. He has been potentially marked to play in that back three. He did sort of cover into that back three once Burgess was sent off. But we've got the choice here of Baggett, who hasn't played a senior game yet for Ipswich Town. He's been on the bench the last few times. I think for Portsmouth and Oxford were the last two games he was on the bench. But will McKenna go in for somebody who's not played at all yet for the team? Highly rated by the academy, plays in, week out for the 23 side. He plays a lot for his national side. But would he go for him in his first game, which is, it's a big game. We have to say it's a big game. It's on TV. Rotherham were doing quite well in the league before they slipped down into the playoffs. Or will he go for Thompson, who hasn't played yet at centre-back apart from this little cameo last time out? He's played most of his games at left-back. We know what he could do, but is he the ideal player to maybe play at centre-back, or should it be Baggett, who hasn't got prior experience just yet?
Yeah, I think the obvious option is probably to go for Baggett. A player who has got more social media following than the whole club has. It's crazy to think that, but I think he deserves his chance. I've seen him. I saw him play in the when was it? I think it was the FA Cup Youth Final on TV, and he's absolutely huge. I think he's like over 6 foot, that's for sure.
He's 6'4".
6'4". Okay, so he's massive. So I know he hasn't had experience, but he's a massive prospect at this club, and everyone rates him down in the academy. So I think I would rather him over Thompson, who is a decent left back. I don't think he's had an awful time at the club, but he's not a natural centre back, and against Rotherham, I'd want to go for a natural centre back. So I'd love to see Baggett come in, but that's the thing. Will McKenna go for a more experienced option? We'll have to wait and see. But I really hope he gets his chance, because I feel like it's been quite a long time coming. I think he's played a few, the Pizza Trophy games this season. I think he played in I can't remember which one it was. He might have played in all of them. I don't know, but I think he's a strong up and coming defender who can win headers. He's tall. I think he'll slot in there fine. I know it's a big game to come into for your first one, but we've got nothing to play for now, so why not go for it? But then again, I'm sure Thompson can still do a job there. So it's up to McKenna, obviously, but I'd choose Baggett personally.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what games he's played in, to be perfectly honest, mate, because I don't think he's played in any this season, actually.
I think he played it. Did he play at Gillingham away in the Papa John's?
He hasn't played in any.
Oh, he hasn't? Okay.
The only game he's actually featured in was the 2-1 loss to West Ham under-23s when he's on the bench.
Oh, right, okay. Well, don't listen to me then. He's had no games. But,
he's played no games. I think it's more last season we saw him feature a bit more.
Right, okay.
Because I think he did feature in a few EFL trophies. I think the one I can remember was that. Oh no, you were correct. Last year he did play in that 2-0 win over Gillingham last year.
Oh, last season.
That's probably where that's coming from.
That was the home game, wasn't it?
That was the home game, yeah. That's where it's probably come from. When this would be a flashback to the past. Falami and Dobra scored in that game.
Cool. Yeah.
Massive flashback, but no. It'd be interesting if he does get his first league game first start to the season. I hope he does.
Yeah, I hope so.
He looks like a very good centre back. And well, we better now talk about the game. And Ipswich Town are on the road once again for the second to last time this season. Yes, we are at that stage now. All those games have come thick and fast. We're now nearly at the end for away games. That shows that the league season, unfortunately, is coming to an end. As they still search, they're still searching for the first win in the last two games, or their first win since Fleetwood away. That's what they're searching for the first away win this season. But they're playing Rotherham. They are the host today. And well, they've had a miserable time quite recently. No wins out of their last 3 games. They've lost all 3 of them, which has seen them slip out of first place, which they've held for a long time. And they've slipped out even out of the automatics as well. They've gone into 3rd place, into those playoff places, unknown territory for Rotherham. But Dan, this is a big game really for both sides. A massive clash. There's 2 heavyweights in the league. Despite the recent slip in form, it's on TV. But, this is going to be a crucial game for Ipswich. It's just crucial because they need to get back to winning ways, have this strong end to the season. But they're playing a Rotherham side who have lost the last 3 games in a row. It's on TV, but they know if they win, they can go back into that automatic positions ahead of MK Dons.
Yeah, so it's a massive game for them. And you look at this and you think all the odds are stacked against Ipswich, really, in this one. It's going to be a tough game away from home. It's on Sky. Rotherham haven't won their last 3. I'm just not confident. I feel like it's the first time I've not been very confident going into a game. But on the other hand, I think we've got enough in our squad that we can do at least something. I think Rotherham will have the bit between their teeth. They'll want to get the win. A win is crucial for them. And as we're not really playing for much, I think it's going to be a really tough one. But I think I'm going to stick with this team. I'm not going to predict a loss because I still hate predicting losses, but I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw and hopefully spoil the Rotherham party a little bit.
Yeah, well, Dan, he's going for a 1-1 draw between Rotherham and Ipswich Town. That game that's on Sky Sports on Saturday. You better be watching it because you better be watching it because Town are on TV for the first time this season, isn't it? It's first time on a second time this season because of Barrow.
Yes, Barrow, of course. That was on ITV, wasn't it? Yeah. I don't want to be reminded of that.
That's when we had neuralizers and we forgot what happened. I've lost 90 minutes of the day. I don't know what happened, but must be nothing special. But yeah, that's what Dan is going for. Let us know on Twitter at Pitch Talk what your score prediction is for Rotherham versus Ipswich Town. And when we come back, because we're now finished the Ipswich Town section, we'll be talking about Premier League game week number 32, where we'll be looking at the top 2. They clash in what could be a title-defining moment in the league season. Another twist in the top 4 race. And the battle for the relegation battle saw one team take a huge leap to safety this season. So don't go anywhere.
The best place in Ipswich to hear the latest football debates, Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio, Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George, and your co-host, as always, Dan, for another week of football action here on Pitchside Talk. And now, before we move on talking about the Premier League this weekend, I better mention the social medias. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram's at Talk_Pitch, YouTube and Mixcolour, both at Pitchside Talk. And if you missed anything from today's show, do not worry. It'll be up shortly, 6 p.m. on Fridays on YouTube and Mixcolour. You can listen back to the show whenever you want to. So if you missed anything from the Ipswich Town section this week, do not worry. It'll be up shortly, 6 p.m. at Friday. And now, in game week 31 of the Premier League, we saw action across the board. The title race, top 4 race, the battle to stay up. It had a lot. And so game week 32 had a lot to live up to. And it had the perfect way to deliver it, with the top 2 clashing, which could be a title deciding moment in the title race this season. Another twist in the top 4 race, and the survival to stay in the Premier League saw one team take one huge leap to safety. So I better read out the results. And for Friday night football, we had Newcastle. They won 1-0 against Wolves in a very dominant performance. Everton, they got their first win in a few games after beating Manchester United 1-0 on Saturday lunchtime. Brighton ended their winless run of 7 games with a win against Arsenal and 2-1 at the Emirates. Chelsea hit 6, yes, a cricket score against Southampton on the South Coast. Leeds won 3-0 against Watford, confirming a bit more their safety this season. And Spurs took a huge leap after Arsenal losing as they won 4-0 against Aston Villa. Not looking very good for Stevie G at the moment. I think it's 4 or 5 games now lost in a row. And then kicking off for Sunday, we have Brentford pegging back West Ham with a 2-0 win over them. Crystal Palace, they lost to Leicester. Leicester winning 2-1. Norwich got their first win in a few games since January, actually, with a 2-0 win over Burnley, who are trying to fight for survival. And before we mention the big game, that leaves one more left, which is Man City versus Liverpool. And Super Sunday saw the biggest game of the season and maybe the biggest game in a long time, with the top two clashing in a game. Whatever the outcome, could totally defy the title race this season. It could effectively end City's, it could effectively end Liverpool's, or a draw would just make it even more intense. We'll have to find out what happened. But for City, they could extend their gap to 4 points if they won over Liverpool. But for Liverpool, if they won, they could go 2 points clear of the league leaders for the first time since October. But the last few meetings have been intense and thrilling from first to last. And this game did not disappoint as it produced a classic result in a thrilling draw at the Etihad, a 2-2 draw, which is now seen. Basically, we learned nothing more and we learned nothing less, really, as the league has now stayed the same with 7 games still to go for these sides here. But down the top two clashed and they couldn't find a way to separate each other. You know, City got the goal, then Liverpool hit back. City got the goal, Liverpool hit back. It was basically just, you know, constantly hitting back at each other. But what we do know is that the next 7 games for both sides, each game is now going to be title defining because City have only got that 1 point slender lead over Liverpool. But Liverpool got to effectively, they could still win all their 7 games. I think everybody expects them to. But comparing runs between City and Liverpool have got that tougher run, which could maybe define the season, where City have got that easier run.
Yeah, it could do, and I think in this game we were kind of hoping that it would be a bit more clearer as who would be winning the league, but obviously not. It was a fantastic game, wasn't it? A lot of drama and nothing between them. So, you know, a draw coming away from it doesn't really solve any of our questions. So it's all about the running now and who's got the easier run. And as you say, it seems like Man City on paper have the easier run, but we all know it doesn't work like that. And, you know, it's massive for both teams. Every game is now absolutely huge. So it's going to be really exciting. But as I said, it was a brilliant game to watch, and watching probably 2 of the best teams in, I mean, probably the world at the moment, isn't it? So, you know, to watch that type of kind of quality is really good. So, yeah, fantastic game, and Man City could have won it, but for the VAR decision. It ended a stalemate, and it's just, you know, a bit of drama going up to the end of the season in that we just don't know how it's going to go. And I think it makes it more exciting, that's for sure. As I said, I think I said last week, we don't want to see an out-and-out winner at this point in the season. We find it much more exciting when it's closer, and you know, when it's teams like Man City and Liverpool, it's just thrilling to see who's gonna come out on top. Let's wait and see. I'm gonna be watching with excitement, I think.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting to the end now. 7 games to go now for both sides. I think the most toughest question to still ask is who's going to win the league, because I think what we learned, really, the one main thing we learned from the Etihad is it's going to be hard to split these sides, because you can't split these sides. That's how interesting it is. I think if you even took them to a neutral ground, which they could even effectively play at this season later on down the line. Well, actually, they are this weekend in the FA Cup, with which can't end in a draw. Nothing can split these sides, and it just shows the quality of the managers, Pep and Klopp, what they've built here in their squads, the quality of the players. It's incredible. I don't think this has ever been seen in the history of football. 2 sides that are level pegging so tight, they cannot be split by anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's you haven't seen it in English football really for a long time. You know, you had pretty much Man United for the whole of for a long time, didn't you? Who were just dominant. And even before that, I don't think it was as close as it is now. And it's thrilling to watch. And especially, as I say, as it's probably the 2 best teams in the world. You know, both teams are in the Champions League semi-finals. It could be an all-English final. And imagine if, you know, another Man City Liverpool game, this time in the Champions League final. it is just fantastic to watch. And as a neutral, especially for me, it's brilliant to see such a tight game in the such a tight end to the season in the Premier League between two fantastic clubs. Who's going to win it? It could go either way, couldn't it? It really could. I think both teams have got equal chance. But I'm gonna say it's gonna be Liverpool, but it can easily be Man City. I hope Man City fans don't take that as I'm saying that they can't do it, because they definitely can, because I really think it's on a knife edge and it's 50-50. So we'll see, but I'm gonna say it's gonna be Liverpool.
All right, I wasn't even going to ask you that question, but thanks for answering that question, because it's such a tight question. I think I asked you that last week.
I think you did, yeah. But yeah, I still didn't get it right.
Well, I don't know who can get it right. I think if you did, you need to put 5,000 to 1 to Leicester win the title still.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll move away now from that top two battle. And there still is a race for that last Champions League spot. And last week we saw a new holder of that Champions League spot in Spurs, as Arsenal and Manchester United dropped points, but West Ham got back to winning ways last week. So this week would be a crucial week for those teams who got back to winning ways, or who need to get back to winning ways, and also the team that got back to winning ways as well, to try and stop Spurs running away with this moment, as they have been undefeated in their last few games, and to keep up with them as well, because they're running away with it. But the opposite happened, with Spurs cruising to a 4-0 win over Aston Villa. But Manchester United, they lost to relegation threatened Everton in a 1-0 loss. A very poor performance by Rangnick's side. Also, Arsenal, they failed to come back against winless Brighton. They lost 2-1 at the Emirates. That's such a shocking result for them, losing at the Emirates to a side that have not won in the last 7 games. And also West Ham, they got pegged back by Brentford in a 2-0 loss. Dan, we now have a current front runner in the top 4 place, the last top 4 place this season. They now have a 3-point lead over their rivals, Arsenal. But Arsenal, we do have to remember, Arsenal still have a game in hand over Spurs, and the two sides still have to meet at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So it's not all over just yet for those two teams. But I think if we look at West Ham and Manchester United, massive dents in their top 4 hopes. You know, it's now 6 points behind Spurs. West Ham don't have a game in hand at all over Spurs. Man U have a game in hand over West Ham, but none over Spurs. But for those two sides, I know it's 6 points. I know 6 points can be made up quite easily in this league, and there is more than 6 points left on the table with the games remaining. But is 6 points too much to overturn now to try and get back into those Champions League spots?
I think you'd say so at this point in the season. And, you know, with the results they've just had, obviously Man United falling to Everton, a really, really poor performance from them. And for West Ham losing at Brentford as well. So you'd say, with especially the run Tottenham are on at the moment, and they're scoring goals for fun, aren't they? So you'd say that Tottenham are in the front run, and that kind of puts West Ham and Manchester United out of it, seeing as they're 6 points off. So yeah, it's going to be such a difficult task for both of them to get into the top 4 now. I just can't see them doing it. But Arsenal, I think they're still in it. It's only 3 points off. So they've still got a chance. They've just got to keep at it. I know they've had 2 losses now in a row, and especially losing to Brighton, as you say, it's a really poor result for them. So they need to get that win in that game in hand, and I think that puts them on 18 wins, 3 draws and 10 losses, which is the exact same as Tottenham.
Yes.
So that's interesting there as well. They're kind of exactly the same. But I don't know. I just think Tottenham. Do you feel like they kind of come out of nowhere? Really, they didn't really. I don't think we really talked about them this season. They kind of just been on just outside, haven't they? Kind of off the radar a little bit. But they've gone on a really good run recently, 4 wins in a row, and they've, as I say, scoring goals for fun, and they've put themselves in the driving seat. So yeah, with Conte in charge, I think they're definitely favourites at this moment in time, and I reckon they could do it. But it's the Premier League. We'll have to wait and see. Anything could happen.
Yes, anything can happen. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that top four race. But we better now talk about the relegation battle, which saw one team take one huge leap, which Rory mentioned them, was Everton. They got a win over Manchester United, a priceless victory as well in their battle to avoid relegation. It looked like doom and gloom as if they lost here or even drawed here, they had the chance to drop into that relegation zone as Burnley were playing Norwich, but in a big 6-pointer. But instead, Norwich threw a span in the works to Burnley, making them lose 2-0 on the day, thanks to Timo Pukki and Les Mieux. What did I say his name? I don't know say his name, but French midfielder.
Yeah, something like that.
I'll probably just butcher that. I'm so sorry, Les Mieux. But yeah, a massive dent in Burnley's title survival. Now 4 points away from safety. Dan, a priceless victory for Frank Lampard, Everton first. It was needed. It was massively needed. You know, Frank Lampard had been criticised inside. They've been lacking grit, the mentality to win. And I think he got that in this win here. They looked absolutely determined. They were all over United. United didn't even look really in the game at all. Everton managed them so well, just shutting them down when they could and making it very much easy saves for Jordan Pickford to make. But it is big for them because now Burnley have lost 4 points clear. Burnley now, both on the same amount of games. This win here by Everton has now proven crucial, and this win here by this loss by Burnley has proved very pivotal now.
It has, yeah, and I think that Burnley loss now is kind of, means nothing now that Burnley lost to Norwich. So this win against United for Everton was absolutely huge. And as you say, they needed it. And they came up against a Man United side who don't really look like they know what they're doing at the moment. So it was I guess it was a kind of simple win in the end, which is, I don't think we were expecting that. And coming from our last show where I say Everton are going to get relegated, I think I changed my mind already after them getting this win against Manchester United. But obviously for Lampard, he'd be delighted with that, considering how poorly they've been since he's taken over. He had a massive job to do, but I don't think anyone expected, his Everton side to be this poor, really. So, this win was crucial. And as Burnley lost to Norwich, it bridges that gap again. They've got to be careful, obviously. We know what Sean Dyche and Burnley can do in this league. They can pull out a win out of anything. I know they've been poor this season, but you can't write them off. But I think that 4-point gap just gives them a bit of breathing space. And I think that win against United definitely will give them confidence. They've got Leicester coming up, who haven't really got much to play for. So let's see what happens in that game. And let's see if Everton can stay up. I think it's going to be tight, but yeah, it's that bit of breathing space now, I think.
Yeah, so that little bit of breathing space is all that's needed for Everton. And that is all for your Premier League roundup this week. And when we come back, we'll be talking about the Champions League second leg quarterfinal. We had 4 games, 4 teams could go through, and we had some thrilling games, controversial moments, a little bit of argy-bargy as well, unsportsmanship, or what you want really for a Champions League weekend. We'll find out what happened right after this.
Pitchside Talk, footy debate from the Premier League Outback.
Hello, and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on iRadio's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, your host as always, George, and my co-host as always, Dan, who's joined me for another week of Pitchside Talk, for another week of football action. And now, before we move on talking about the Champions League second leg quarterfinals this week, I better mention the social medias. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram's Talk_Pitch, YouTube, Mixcolour, both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any of our previous shows, do not worry, they're up there on YouTube and Mixcolour for you to listen back to. And also, if you missed anything from this week's show, do not worry. 6 p.m. on Friday, this show will be back out on YouTube and Mixcloud for you to have a listen to if you want to listen back to any of our Premier League chat or Ipswich Town chat. Do not worry. It'll be all up there on YouTube and Mixcloud at 6 p.m. tonight. And now the Champions League second leg quarterfinals. Yes, it rolled around a very quick week. Rolled around and we had the chance to see the 4 teams that would make it through to the semi-finals for this year's competition. And oh boy, we were in for a treat, especially with the first game, as Bayern Munich have been knocked out of the Champions League by Villarreal. The Yellow Submarines have knocked them out after a 1-1 draw. Chakwiz's last-minute equaliser sealed the tie for them in a 1-1 draw at the Allianz Arena, which silenced the Allianz Arena as well. Bayern Munich dominated the game, but couldn't find that second goal. And that is now an absolute stunner for them. So we now see Villarreal, the first team, book their place in the second leg. And also, we saw another Spanish side book their place in the semi-finals in Real Madrid in an absolutely classic, probably a classic and a thrilling game in the Champions League as they came up to win against Chelsea. They may have lost 2-3 on the night, but on aggregate, they won 5-4 thanks to their 3 goals at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea mounted a heroic comeback, winning 3-0 at one point, putting them in the lead of the tie. But Real Madrid showed their quality with a glorious ball from Luka Modric to Rodrigo, who sealed the deal there. And then Karim Benzema getting his 38th goal of the season, his 12th in the Champions League this season as well. Just seeing the deal for the Galacticos on the night and booking them another place in the semi-finals of the Champions League. And they will be playing Manchester City, who didn't overcame. They held a 0-0 draw at Atletico Madrid, but they overcame Atletico Madrid's dark arts and unsportsmanship-like behaviour in a very disciplined performance by Manchester City, which saw Atletico Madrid basically lose their heads at one point, going down to 10 men, headbutts, pulling hair, all sorts, diving over, very unsportsmanlike behaviour, but they didn't get through. And Manchester City are back into the Champions League semi-final, back-to-back semi-finals for them now, which is probably a big achievement for them. They've never done that in the club's history, and the last team to book their place in the Champions League semi-final and playing Villarreal at home is Liverpool after a 3-3 draw against Benfica, but they went through on 6-4 on aggregate thanks to their 3 goals they scored last time out against Benfica from Canate and Firmino, as they still hunt for that historic quadruple this season. So Dan, we now know the Champions League semi-finals. It's going to be Man City versus Real Madrid in the first leg and Liverpool versus Villarreal in the second leg. We could basically get an all-English or an all-Spanish final, but back to these quarterfinals, we just were treated to 4 unique and brilliant quarterfinals, weren't we?
Yeah, the Champions League delivers again. To see, Man City and Liverpool win, it's always good to see the English clubs, and then to see Villarreal get to a semi-final in the Champions League, a massive achievement for them, and then to see Real Madrid back as well. It's got, a really interesting 4 teams in the semi-final. So it's kind of like England v Spain, really, isn't it? Yeah. In the semi-finals. But as I said before, I'd love to see a Man City Liverpool Champions League final. I think that'd be fantastic. But we'll have to wait and see if Real Madrid or Villarreal can do something, because they're there for a reason, aren't they? So it's going to be really interesting, and let's see how it goes.
Yes, we'll see how it goes. I forgot to mention as well, with Chelsea getting knocked out, we'll get a new winners this season as well, as the current European holders have been knocked out of the Champions League. I forgot to mention earlier on, that's the big news also as well from Chelsea's loss as well. But Dan, I must ask you the very tough question: who is going to be in the final in Paris in May out of these 4 teams here?
Oh dear. Okay. Well, let's start with Liverpool, Villarreal. I think it's going to be a tough game for Liverpool, obviously, but I think Liverpool are too good for Villarreal. Unfortunately, they're not doing great in the league. They're doing better in European competitions at the moment. But it's going to be, I'm sure, a tough game for Liverpool, but they'll come out on top, I'm sure. So I think Liverpool get to the final. Man City and Real Madrid is going to be hopefully a really good game, or good 2 games. I think it's going to be tough to decide out of this one, because I think Real Madrid, they're top of La Liga at the moment. I think they're quite far ahead now. I think it's 12 points. So
this is 12 points.
They'll be So they'll be winning La Liga most probably. So they're full of confidence there. But Manchester City, it's a tough one to decide. But I'm going to say Man City are going to get through, and hopefully my All English final comes true. So yeah, let's go for a Liverpool Man City a final, and then them two teams have to play again, and your nerves will be even more.
If I didn't need enough on my plate already, yeah, some more. So as going for a Man City Liverpool final in the Champions League. Man City Liverpool Champions League final in Paris. Why can't this be hosted at Wembley? I do not know, but it's been hosted in Paris. This is really quite annoying, but that's what he's going for, and we'll have to see what happens. These ties are being played at the end of April. I want to say the 26th and the 27th of April. Don't quote me on that. I just think it's that sort of time of April, and I've just plucked 2 dates out of April. It's probably the weekend I've just probably plucked out there. But that is all. We've got actually time for Pitchside Talk this week. The referee's about to blow his whistle for full time this week. Dan, I want to thank you very much for joining me on the show this week. I guess I'll see you next week where we'll be talking about Ipswich Town. We've got 2 games in a row. We've got the Rotherham and the Wigan Premier League. And also we've got the FA Cup semi-finals as well. We haven't even had time to mention that. And that's going to be thrilling as always.
There's a lot happening there. Yeah, I'll be there for it, and hopefully, well, it's Rotherham and Wigan for Town, so don't get your hopes up.
Well, you've got to be positive in life sometimes. You've got to be positive. But that is all we've got time for Pitchside Talk this week. If you want to follow us on Twitter, it is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram's at Talk_Pitch. YouTube, it's got both at Pitchside Talk. And if you missed anything from today's show, do not worry. It'll be up in a few minutes' time on YouTube, Mixcast, 6 p.m. on Friday. So I've been George today. He has been Dan as always. We'll see you next week, and ciao.
See ya.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.